March 11, 2022, a field north of Brovery, 20 kilometers east of Kyiv, tree lines still wet from melted snow. The sound comes before the image, a grinding mechanical hum, 8 wheels on wet asphalt. Then they appear, a column of tanks. Behind them, armoured carriers, 8 wheels each, low-sloped hulls, a squat turret on the roof carrying a thin-barreled cannon. The paint is fresh. The markings are new. The vehicles are new. These are not Soviet relics. These are the pride of the modern Russian motor rifle force. A 30mm stabilised autocannon, a 7.62mm coaxial machine gun, a laser rangefinder, satellite navigation, air conditioning, a diesel engine that can drink anything and still start in minus 40 degrees Celsius. On paper, this vehicle was unstoppable. On paper, it was the future. But something is wrong. The column stops. The lead tank catches fire, then the second, then the third. A wire-guided missile streaks in from a tree line that Russian reconnaissance said was empty. The armoured carriers behind the tanks try to turn around on a narrow road. They cannot. The small side doors between their wheels open. Russian infantry pour out directly into Ukrainian machine gun fire. The vehicles burn where they stand. Colonel Andrei Zakharov, commander of the 6th Tank Regiment of the 90th Guards Tank Division, dies in this ambush. His body is photographed the next morning beside a burning carrier. Within a year, more than 400 of these vehicles would be destroyed, captured, or abandoned. Within 3 years, open-source trackers would count over 1,000 confirmed losses. Russian soldiers would begin calling it the steel coffin. Ukrainian drone crews would film it bursting open on mines, cooking off its own ammunition, crushing its own passengers as it rolled over in terrain Ukrainian forces crossed on foot. Its designation was the BTR-82A. And it was supposed to be the vehicle that won this war. To understand how a modern armoured carrier could burn by the hundreds in the streets of Ukraine, you need to understand what it was designed to replace, and what Russia chose not to fix. The carrier comes from the Arzamas Machine Building Plant in Nizhny Novgorod Oblast, a subsidiary of the military-industrial company. The hull geometry is not new. It is the 4th deep modernization of the BTR-80, a vehicle that entered Soviet service in 1985, more than 4 decades ago. The side doors are the same. The engine is at the back. The troop compartment is wrapped around the wheels on both sides. This is a 1970s layout. The Russian Ministry of Defense formally adopted it in early 2013. Development began around 2008. The engineers were told to fix specific known flaws. The old BTR-80A was underpowered. Its machine gun could not hit anything on the move. Its armour sprayed lethal fragments inside the hull on impact. Its radios were obsolete. Its optics could not see at night. The engineers delivered. The new carrier weighed 15.4 tons. Length, 7.65 metres. Width, 2.9 metres. Height, 2.8 metres. Crew, 3. Dismounts, 7. The engine was a turbocharged KAMAZ V8 diesel delivering 300 horsepower, top road speed, 100 km per hour, range on road, 600 km from a 420-litre tank. It could swim a river at 10 km per hour on a rear water jet. The main weapon was a fully 2-axis stabilised 30mm autocannon. This meant it could fire accurately while moving. The elevation went to plus 70 degrees, high enough to engage helicopters and the upper floors of apartment buildings. The rate of fire was 330 rounds per minute. The ammunition load was 300 rounds of mixed armour-piercing and high explosive. A 7.62mm coaxial machine gun carried another 2,000 rounds. The gunner had a combined day and night thermal sight. The commander had a panoramic sight with a laser rangefinder. Satellite navigation used the Russian GLONASS system. The radio was the R16825U2 Aqueduct. On every specification sheet, the vehicle looked modern, competitive, lethal. The specification sheet omitted one thing. The armour. Independent technical sources consistently describe a 10mm steel plate at the front, 7 to 9mm on the sides, 7mm everywhere else. The overall protection is the same as the BTR-80A it replaced. The improvements are Kevlar spall liners, blast attenuating seats, and a multi-layer floor. Not thicker steel. No NATO STANAG rating was ever published. No active protection system was ever fitted. There is no reactive armour as standard. There is no top attack protection at all. In plain terms, a 12.7mm armour-piercing round, fired from a weapon the Russian army itself has issued for 70 years, can penetrate the front. A modern anti-tank missile, a drone-dropped grenade, a top attack warhead, any of these can open the roof like a tin can. And that layout, the layout that Soviet engineers chose in 1970, the side doors. Russian infantry do not dismount through a rear ramp. They climb out through small hatches between the wheels, directly into whatever is shooting at their vehicle. Their own vehicle body blocks their cover. The fuel tanks sit in the rear hull. When the vehicle burns, the fuel burns next to the men trying to escape. This is the design the Russian army took to war. Syria was the showroom. The first Russian BTR-82A carriers arrived in Syria aboard the Black Sea Fleet landing ship Nikolai Filchenkov on August 20, 2015. The open-source intelligence group Bellingcat traced the tactical markings to the 810th Separate Naval Infantry Brigade of Sevastopol. The 61st Naval Infantry Brigade of the Northern Fleet followed. From 2016 onward, the main operators were Russian military police battalions drawn from Chechnya, Dagestan, and Ingushetia. Syria presented no real threat. There were no drones hunting armour from above. There were no sustained anti-tank missile ambushes. The carriers patrolled photogenically through Khmimim and Tartars air bases. They escorted Russian-Turkish joint patrols along Highway M4. They survived the occasional roadside bomb. A December 29, 2019 missile strike at Trumba wounded 3 Russian soldiers but did not destroy the vehicle. A June 17, 2020 improvised explosive device containing 50 kilograms of TNT damaged, but did not kill one on the M4. The military-industrial company used these survivals as marketing material. The carrier was combat-proven. The carrier had faced real war and lived. The carrier had faced nothing yet. Now, before we get into where this vehicle actually burned, if you are finding value in this deep dive into modern armoured warfare, hit that subscribe button. It takes 1 second, costs nothing, and helps us bring you more of these breakdowns every week. Ukraine changed everything. The full-scale invasion began on February 24, 2022. By March 1, satellite imagery from the Maxar company showed a column of Russian armour stretching 64 kilometers north of Kyiv. Inside that column were hundreds of BTR-82A carriers. They were supposed to lead the assault on the capital. They never reached it. 36 days into the invasion, the open-source tracker Oryx had already counted 56 confirmed carrier losses. The numbers only climbed from there. On March 7, Lieutenant Colonel Dmitry Safronov, commanding the 874th Marine Battalion of the 61st Naval Infantry Brigade, was killed near Kharkiv. On March 10, Colonel Zakharov died in the Brovery ambush. On March 20, Captain First Rank Andrei Pali, deputy commander of the entire Black Sea Fleet, died leading Marines into combat in Mariupol. On March 22nd, Colonel Alexei Sharov, commander of the 810th Naval Infantry Brigade, was killed in the same city. The 810th reported 158 killed, 500 wounded, and 70 missing by April 17. The brigade that had paraded its carriers through Syria for 7 years was being destroyed in weeks. Then came Vuhledar. Vuhledar is a coal mining town in southern Donetsk Oblast. Russia's 155th Guards, Naval Infantry Brigade, based in Vladivostok on the Pacific coast, was ordered to take it. Their primary transport was the BTR-82A. The first disaster came at Avdiivka in early November 2022. Surviving Marines wrote an open letter to the governor of Primorsky Krai dated November 3. Their words were plain. About 300 people were killed, wounded, or went missing in 4 days. 50% of vehicles lost. They blamed the commanders by name: Lieutenant General Rustam Muradov, Major General Sukrab Akhmedov. The main assault came in late January 2023. Russian columns of carriers and tanks drove into the same lanes of American, made scatterable mines on consecutive days. Following drivers steered around their own burning vehicles and hit mines in adjacent lanes. A researcher from the Foreign Policy Research Institute, Rob Lee, documented one carrier of the 155th destroyed by an anti-tank mine. The driver and commander were killed. The gunner survived. The entire front of the vehicle was blown open. A single failed assault produced 31 destroyed or abandoned vehicles on a single drone video. An anonymous Marine of the 155th told an independent Russian outlet what he had seen. Those who survived, he said, were being called deserters. It would have been better to be captured. 500 people had been wasted already. The Institute for the Study of War assessed that the 155th had been destroyed and reconstituted 8 times by March 2023. The BBC Russian service and the independent Russian outlet Media Zona later confirmed at least 211 Marines of the 155th killed at Vuhledar alone, roughly 4 times the brigade's total losses in 10 years of war in Chechnya. The pattern repeated at Avdiivka in October 2023. Defense journalist David Axe documented 13 carriers lost in a single day. It repeated at Krynky on the Dnipro River, where Ukrainian drones and mines destroyed what Ukrainian commanders counted as dozens more. It repeated in Kursk Oblast after Ukraine's cross-border incursion of August 2024. On October 15, 2024, near the village of Pogrebki in Kursk, a BTR-82A rolled to within meters of a Ukrainian T-64 BV tank of the 17th Heavy Mechanized Brigade. The tank killed it at point-blank range. Retired American Lieutenant General Mark Hertling called it the closest tank engagement he had ever seen. A 19-year-old Russian prisoner from the carrier told his Ukrainian captors a phrase that would spread across Russian social media within a day. "We were sent as meat." The Kremlin responded by delivering 40 factory-fresh carriers directly from Arzamas to the 810th Brigade. On November 7th, 15 of them charged a concealed minefield near Novaya Sorochina in daylight. They were destroyed in under 1 hour by 3 Ukrainian brigades working together. On July 2, 2025, a Ukrainian missile struck the 155th Brigade forward command post in Koronevo. Major General Mikhail Gudkov, former commander of the brigade, promoted 3 months earlier to Deputy Commander-in-Chief of the Russian Navy for Coastal Forces, was killed. 10 or more officers died with him. He became the 11th Russian general confirmed killed in the war. The carrier continued to roll out of Arzamas. On paper, the Ukrainian BTR-4 Bucephalus is not as cheap. On paper, the American Striker costs 5 times as much. On paper, the German Boxer costs 7 to 10 times as much, and weighs nearly 40 tons. On paper, the Russian carrier is simpler, lighter, amphibious, and mass-producible. Russian Doctrine chose mass. Russian Doctrine chose cheap. Russian Doctrine assumed that the enemy could not inflict attrition faster than Arzamas could replace it. In practice, the Ukrainian Bucephalus uses a rear door layout. Ukrainian Marines exit backward, away from incoming fire. The Striker has reactive armour and a rear ramp. The Boxer has an optional active protection system that shoots down incoming missiles in flight. The Russian carrier has none of these things. Its crews know this. Russian mill blogger channels on Telegram began calling it the Steel Coffin. In 2023, ad hoc countermeasures proliferated, cope cages welded over the roof, slat armour bolted to the sides, electronic warfare jammers on the turret to disrupt drone signals, wire mesh over the hatches, timber logs strapped to the front. None of it compensated for the baseline armour. The replacements Russia had promised have not arrived. The boomerang-wheeled platform has been in trials for more than a decade. The Royal United Services Institute assessed in 2024 that it was too complex and too expensive for serial production during the war. The new BTR-22, unveiled at a trade show in 2023 with a front engine, a rear exit door and integrated anti-drone jammers, is not in serial production as of April 2026, so Arzamas keeps building the old one. Defense journalist David Axe and open-source analysts estimate current output at 500 to 700 carriers per year, genuinely Soviet scale. Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu claimed in July 2023 that Arzamas deliveries had quadrupled since the invasion began. There is one final irony. The Ukrainian 36th and 503rd Marine Brigades, the same formations decimated at Mariupol in 2022 by the 810th Naval Infantry, now operate captured Russian carriers against the 810th in Kursk. Ukrainian records confirm 134 BTR-82, A carriers captured intact from Russian forces. Ukrainian engineers have fitted them with Western thermal imagers and satellite internet terminals. The vehicles that were built to take Kyiv are now being used to push Russian naval infantry out of Russian territory. Return now to that muddy field near Brovary, March 11th, 2022. The column is burning. Colonel Zakharov is dead. The carriers that were supposed to sweep through Kyiv are breaking apart on a road that leads nowhere. On paper, the vehicle was modern. The cannon was stabilized. The optics were thermal. The engine was powerful. The radios worked. It could swim rivers. It could run in Siberian winter. In practice, the armour was 10 millimeters thick at its strongest. The side doors opened into enemy fire. The fuel tanks were next to the men. There was no top attack protection. There was no active protection system. The ammunition cooked off when the vehicle burned, and yet the factory kept building them. More than 1,000 destroyed, 134 captured. 5 naval infantry brigades functionally rebuilt from scratch, a deputy commander-in-chief of the Russian Navy dead in Kursk, generals buried, colonels buried, lieutenant colonels buried, a 19-year-old prisoner saying 4 words that summarized the doctrine better than any specification sheet ever could. We were sent as meat. The BTR-82A was not a bad vehicle for its weight class. It was a competent execution of an obsolete specification. A 16-ton wheeled carrier with side doors, minimal top armour and no active protection, sent into a battlefield where every square kilometre is watched by drones, and every road is seeded with anti-tank crews. That is not engineering failure. That is doctrine. The factory at Arzamas will keep producing. The hulls will keep rolling out. The question the next generation of Russian Marines will have to answer is whether anyone is still willing to climb inside one.